8:12 on a Monday morning as many Americans really struggle financially. Some think there is a potential for more stimulus help to come your way. Joining us now is our financial expert, Pete the Planner, to talk about the potential and what he is reading and seeing. Pete, good morning to you.
Good morning, Angela.
Hey, nice to see you. Let's talk about this. So much is being talked about, different lawmakers discussing different things. Let's start with kind of what your thoughts are on more stimulus money. Is it being proposed and what are the thoughts?
Yeah, so there are three areas that most people, like that you and I, are concerned with. Okay, so there's this idea of unemployment benefits. We want people who are unemployed to survive financially. So that's one part. Number two is direct payments. That's those stimulus payments that were deposited in people's accounts starting on April 15th. Then the third side of this is protection for small businesses. Now, most people may think, well, what does that matter to me? Well, 60 million jobs are at stake when you talk about small businesses. So those are the three areas. Angela, I think there will be an enhancement of the unemployment benefits, which runs out at the end of July currently. So at the end of July, that extra $600 a week is gone. I think that will be extended. And I think there will be some nominal direct payment to consumers, but not the type that they're talking about right now in Congress. There's some pretty big time stuff out there.
We did a story last week with some of the other financial planners, and you've talked about this yourself when it comes to that $600 that is supposed to run out in July, saying that some people aren't going back to work because they're quote unquote making more right now to not work. What are your thoughts on that as far as if that is an issue? And, you know, there's obviously about four sides to every story, right?
Yeah, there's going to be some of that. There's always some of that, but that's not my biggest concern. My biggest concern is the people who don't get help, who need help. That's what I care about the most. People taking advantage of this system literally is the least amount of our concerns right now. There is a bill right now in Congress, though, that would give the average family of four $8,000 a month of income. And so that's what's going to be talked about this week. I don't think that happens any way, shape, or form, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple $1,000s a month going into each American household within the next couple of months.
Yeah, and that big question, the biggest question, I get probably 5 a day. I haven't gotten any money yet. Nothing has hit my bank account yet. What am I doing wrong? And I feel like I can never answer because I think every story is a little bit different.
It absolutely is. And so that's why these big bills where they're just trying to throw money at everything, well, they're trying to reach those corners which can't otherwise be reached. The average American household in the U.S. is $62,000 a year. And so they're trying to find every little cranny that you can stuff money into right now.
All right, Pete, we sure do appreciate it. Always good thoughts and things for us to be thinking about and to ask more questions about. I hope you have a good one. We'll see you again tomorrow.